A rich architect hires a young, impoverished woman to pretend to be his girlfriend, but when she attends the gala dinner, everyone is impressed. Kevin Turner, a brilliant and ambitious architect, gazed out from his office in the heart of New York City. At just 32, he had already earned the respect of his peers in the competitive world of architecture. The glass walls around him reflected both his success and his unwavering determination. However, this landscape of achievements hid a barren personal life, dedicated entirely to work. That day, Kevin received an invitation to a prestigious gala event, where he needed to impress Jonathan Reed, an influential investor known for prioritizing solid personal relationships. For Kevin, the chance to secure Jonathan's support meant realizing his dream project, a building that would not only be an architectural masterpiece but also a symbol of his meteoric career. Kevin knew Jonathan was not easily persuaded. He believed that his partner's personal life stability directly reflected the professional trust he placed in them. For the investor, a successful business partnership required that his associates demonstrate security and reliability in their private lives as well. "Jonathan is demanding," Kevin warned Sarah, his assistant, as she handed him the invitation. "He wants to see more than charts and blueprints. He's looking for someone who can truly commit to a project." "Yes, I know. And that's exactly why I need to impress him," Kevin replied, adjusting his tie in front of the mirror. "But how do I show something I don't have?" As he considered his options, Kevin pondered how he could present an image of personal stability without sacrificing the integrity of his work-devoted life. At that moment, he decided he needed to find a way to bridge this apparent gap in his life before the gala event. His mind spun in search of solutions, knowing he needed to act quickly to secure his place in that privileged circle. "I need an idea that can work," Kevin thought aloud, while Sarah, always attentive, watched him with concern. She knew her boss was searching for more than just a business partner, perhaps a connection that could fill the void in his life. With the event approaching, Kevin was determined to find a solution that could convince him to participate and, perhaps, open new doors in his life. After all, for someone who had always put work above everything, the idea of balance was beginning to seem not only necessary but desirable. Seeking an escape from his routine, Kevin decided to walk through the bustling streets of New York. The fresh air helped clear his mind, and he found inspiration in the vibrant urban landscapes. As he wandered aimlessly, Kevin spotted a street artist painting a mural in a nearby square. The artist, a young woman named Charlotte, was immersed in her work. The vivid colors emerging from her hands captured the attention of passers-by and brought life to the previously bland wall. Kevin, intrigued by the authenticity of her art, approached and stood beside her, observing each brushstroke closely. "You have incredible talent," Kevin remarked, watching the colors come to life under Charlotte's careful touch. She looked up at him, surprised but grateful for the interruption. "Thank you," Charlotte replied, wiping her paint-stained hands on her worn apron. "Art is my way of expressing what I feel, even if it doesn't always pay the bills." "I think that's what makes it even more valuable," Kevin said, admiring her passion for her craft. "Sometimes, authenticity is rarer and more precious than anything else." Charlotte's sincerity resonated with Kevin in a way he hadn't expected. In a world where appearances often mattered more than truth, Charlotte was a breath of authenticity and passion. Kevin found himself fascinated by her dedication to her craft, despite the evident hardships she faced. "Have you been doing this for a long time?" he asked, curious about how someone so young could convey so much emotion through art. "Yes, ever since I can remember," Charlotte replied with a smile. "Art keeps me sane and helps me see the world in a way many overlook." As they talked, Kevin felt a growing connection with Charlotte, and an idea began to form in his mind. Perhaps Charlotte could help him in some way face the professional challenges that awaited him. He said goodbye, promising to return with a proposal. Kevin left that interaction with a renewed sense of purpose. He knew he needed Charlotte to help him present an image of personal stability at the gala event, but he had yet to formulate how he would extend the invitation. The next day, Kevin woke up early, determined to present his proposal to Charlotte. He spent the morning reflecting on how he would approach the matter and ensure that she understood the importance of the event for him. By noon, he returned to the square where he had met her, hopeful to find her again at her mural. Fortunately, Charlotte was there, her hands already stained with vibrant colors, focused on her work. Kevin waited patiently until she took a break, and then he approached with a smile. "Hey, Kevin!" Charlotte exclaimed upon seeing him. "What brings you back?" "I have a proposal for you," Kevin began, trying not to sound too eager. "But, before anything, know that it might be a bit unusual." Charlotte tilted her head, curious. "Unusual? Now you've really captured my attention." Kevin took a deep breath, searching for the right words. "There's a gala event in a few days, where I need to be accompanied by someone who can pass as my girlfriend. And I thought you might be perfect for the role." Charlotte blinked, surprised. "Your girlfriend? And what do you gain from this?" "To be honest, it's a business matter. Jonathan Reed, an important investor, values personal connections. He believes that those with a stable personal life can be trusted in business partnerships. And currently, my personal life is, well, practically non-existent. And why me? There are many women who would probably do this for you without hesitation. It's your authenticity, Charlotte. You don't pretend to be something you're not. That's rare and exactly what Jonathan values. Plus, you could use the payment to continue your artistic work." Charlotte pondered, watching Kevin attentively. He was sincere, but also desperate. "How long do you expect me to pretend? Just during the event?" "Exactly. Just one night. After that, if all goes well, you can go your way, and I go mine." "And what do I gain from this, besides the payment?" Charlotte asked, still not entirely convinced. "The opportunity to see the world from a different perspective, perhaps even make contacts that could support your art. I can't guarantee anything beyond the payment, but I'm willing to do everything I can to make this advantageous for both of us." After a moment of reflection, Charlotte nodded slowly. "All right. I'll do it. But only because I need the money, and you seem to genuinely need help." Kevin smiled, relieved. "Thank you, Charlotte. Let's make sure it's a memorable night for everyone." With the decision made, Kevin began planning the next steps. Together, they could make the gala a success. And who knows, they might discover something deeper along the way. With the agreement sealed, Kevin began preparations for the gala. He knew he needed to present Charlotte impeccably, so he arranged for an elegant dress and accessories for her. Charlotte, for her part, was curious to see what it would be like to enter a world so different from her everyday life. The next day, Kevin took Charlotte to a sophisticated boutique in downtown Manhattan. As they entered, they were greeted by a saleswoman with a warm smile. "Welcome. How can I assist you today?" the saleswoman asked, eyeing Charlotte with interest. "We're looking for something special for this lady," Kevin replied. "Something that's elegant and impressive." Charlotte looked around, admiring the expensive dresses. "Are you sure about this, Kevin? I don't want you to spend a fortune just for one event." Kevin smiled. "Consider it an investment. Besides, I want you to feel comfortable and confident. That's part of the plan." The saleswoman brought several dresses, each more impressive than the last. Charlotte chose a deep blue dress that enhanced her skin and eyes, with a cut that gave her an air of sophistication and grace. "That's perfect," Kevin said, admiring her choice. "I think Jonathan will be impressed." "I hope so," Charlotte replied, trying to hide her nervousness. "I'm still not sure how I'll fare at this event." Kevin, noticing her hesitation, placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "Remember, you're not alone. We're doing this together." With the dress chosen, they proceeded to a beauty salon, where Charlotte was treated to care she had never experienced before. Her hair was styled into an elegant updo, and her makeup highlighted her natural beauty. As she looked in the mirror, Charlotte barely recognized the woman reflected back. "Well, this is different." "You look wonderful," Kevin assured, noticing how comfortable she seemed in the unfamiliar setting. As the event approached, the tension was palpable. Charlotte and Kevin were about to enter a world where every gesture would be scrutinized and every word evaluated. But they were ready. The preparations had brought them closer, and even though it was just a temporary contract, both were eager to take on the challenge together. The gala hall was a spectacle of luxury and opulence, with crystal chandeliers hanging from the ceiling and casting a soft glow over the guests. The walls, decorated with golden tapestries, provided a majestic backdrop for the event. The tables were covered with pristine linen tablecloths, adorned with elegant floral arrangements, creating an atmosphere that exuded exclusivity and sophistication. Kevin and Charlotte arrived together, radiating a presence that immediately drew attention. Kevin, in his meticulously tailored black suit, exuded confidence and charm. Charlotte, in her deep blue dress that highlighted her eyes, was stunning, though a hint of nervousness was visible in her smile. As they moved through the hall, Charlotte noticed the curious glances cast their way. For someone accustomed to the more relaxed environments of the artistic world, the atmosphere was both dazzling and intimidating. "You're doing very well," Kevin whispered, noticing her nervousness. Charlotte smiled, grateful for his support. "Just be yourself," he added. Early in the evening, Charlotte found herself surrounded by a group of guests curious about who was the woman beside Kevin Turner. Charlotte, taking a deep breath, began to speak about her art, her inspirations, and how she saw the world. "I like to paint what I see on the streets," she said, gesturing with enthusiasm. "Each mural is a story I tell through colors, trying to capture the essence of cities and the people who live in them." The reactions were immediate and positive, and Charlotte realized that her words were generating genuine interest. She began to feel more at ease, allowing herself to relax and enjoy the moment. Kevin, from a distance, watched with pride as Charlotte charmed the people around her. At one point, Charlotte was invited to share more about her work with an art collector present at the event. "They say you have a natural talent for capturing the soul of the city," the collector remarked with an appreciative smile. "It's something I try to do," Charlotte responded modestly. "I believe art should be accessible to everyone, and murals are my way of connecting people with the beauty around them." Jonathan Reed, meanwhile, kept a watchful eye on the couple. Although he had not approached Charlotte directly yet, he noticed the way she naturally interacted with the other guests, beginning to reassess his initial impressions. As the night progressed, Kevin and Charlotte were frequently approached by guests intrigued by her presence. Charlotte, despite her initial nervousness, was enjoying the experience, surprising herself with her ability to adapt to such a distinct environment. At the end of the night, as guests began to disperse, Kevin and Charlotte exchanged a knowing glance. The first impression had been a success, and Charlotte had not only adapted but also charmed those she met. "You were incredible," Kevin said as they left. Charlotte smiled, feeling proud of what they had achieved together. As they left the hall, Kevin and Charlotte were more confident than ever. They knew there were still challenges ahead, but they were prepared to face them, strengthened by the shared experience of that special night. The gala hall was filled with influential people, each dressed in stunning attire, illuminated by the twinkling lights of chandeliers. Kevin and Charlotte had made a striking first impression, but they knew the real test was coming now, with Jonathan Reed's attention turning directly towards them. Jonathan, circulating through the hall, finally approached Kevin and Charlotte, a keen and curious look on his face. Kevin felt the intensity of the moment and braced himself for the conversation he knew was inevitable. "Kevin, what a pleasure to see you," Jonathan said, firmly shaking Kevin's hand. "And who is this charming lady by your side?" "This is Charlotte," Kevin introduced with a smile. "She's a talented artist who has brought a new perspective to my life." Jonathan smiled at Charlotte, interested. "An artist, you say? And what exactly do you do, Charlotte?" Charlotte, maintaining her composure, replied, I paint murals and try to bring a bit of color to the world, even though it's sometimes challenging. Jonathan nodded, clearly intrigued. It's always refreshing to see people so passionate about what they do. And you, Kevin, always surprising me with your choices. Kevin noticed that despite the friendly tone, Jonathan was attentive to any sign of inconsistency. Charlotte also felt the pressure, but decided she would be authentic, just as Kevin had suggested. As the night progressed, Kevin noticed that Jonathan was increasingly interested in the dynamics between him and Charlotte. There was a glimmer of skepticism in Jonathan's eyes, something Kevin couldn't ignore. He realized that Jonathan was not only observing their interactions, but also looking for signs of sincerity and commitment. During a pause in the conversation, Charlotte pulled Kevin aside. "Kevin, I think Jonathan isn't completely convinced. Can we try something different to show that we're really connected?" Kevin agreed, feeling the same urgency. "You're right. We need to find a way to show him that we're more than just a facade." With this renewed determination, they returned to the party, interacting more spontaneously and naturally. Kevin began to speak about Charlotte's works with genuine admiration, describing how her colors reflected her vibrant and inspiring personality. "Charlotte makes me see the world differently," Kevin said to Jonathan, his voice filled with sincerity. "She brings a unique perspective, something I never realized before." Jonathan watched silently, his expression neutral, but there was a hint of approval in his gaze. Kevin knew they needed to keep this approach, showing that their connection was real and that he was willing to let his emotional guard down a bit. As the evening continued, Kevin felt the ice beginning to melt. Jonathan, although still vigilant, seemed more receptive. Kevin knew there was still work to do, but he felt a spark of hope. Perhaps Charlotte's authenticity was indeed what he needed to win over Jonathan and, at the same time, find something that had always been missing in his life. After the gala, Kevin and Charlotte decided to go to a cozy cafe nearby to unwind. The event had been intense, but they were excited about how they had handled the situation. Sitting at a table in the corner, with a hot cup of coffee in hand, Charlotte looked at Kevin, curious. "How do you think we did?" Kevin smiled, relieved. "I think we did a good job." Jonathan seemed less skeptical by the end. "I think he really started to believe that we have something special." Charlotte nodded, stirring her coffee. "You know, Kevin, you also surprised me. You're not just a work-focused architect, but someone who really cares about what they do." Kevin leaned forward, interested. "And you, Charlotte? What did you think of all this?" She shrugged, thoughtful. "It was a different experience. I never imagined being at an event like this. It's interesting to see how people interact in such a formal environment." As they talked, Kevin realized that his connection with Charlotte was deepening. There was something about her that made him feel more at ease, as if he could be himself without the layers of pretense he used in the business world. "You made me realize there's more to life than just work," Kevin admitted, his tone serious. "Tonight made me think about how I've been living." Charlotte smiled, gently touching his hand. "Life is more than just making money and building buildings. It's about connections, experiences, and finding something that truly inspires us." Kevin felt a wave of gratitude for having met Charlotte. She made him question his priorities and reflect on what really mattered. Her honesty made him want to be a better person, someone who could open up and embrace vulnerabilities. "Charlotte, I wanted to thank you for being by my side today," Kevin said, his voice laden with emotion. "You brought a new perspective to my life, and that's something I'll never forget." Charlotte squeezed his hand gently. "We're in this together, Kevin. I've learned a lot from you too. Maybe we can help each other find what we really want." With this sincere exchange, both realized they had much more in common than they had imagined. The connection between them wasn't just a matter of convenience, it was something genuine that motivated them to explore possibilities that went beyond the initial contract. When they finally left the cafe, Kevin felt that the event had been a success, but more importantly, He felt he had found someone who understood and accepted who he really was. As they walked down the street, both were aware that this night marked the beginning of a new phase in their lives, full of hope and new possibilities. The days following the gala were a whirlwind of emotions and reflections for Kevin. He found himself questioning his choices and life priorities. Charlotte had awakened in him a new perspective, something he had not expected and which left him restless. Sitting in his office, he looked out the window, viewing the city below and pondering what truly defined success. Meanwhile, Charlotte continued with her murals, but her mind often drifted back to Kevin and the night they shared. She too was grappling with conflicting feelings. On one hand, there was a growing admiration for Kevin and what he represented. On the other, she wondered if her feelings were real or merely a reaction to the unusual situation they had shared. One afternoon, Kevin called Charlotte. He needed to see her, needed to talk about what was going through his mind. They met in a park where Charlotte was working on a new mural. Kevin arrived with a smile, but his eyes revealed the turmoil he felt. "Charlotte, can we talk?" Kevin asked, his voice a bit hesitant. "Of course, Kevin. What's going on?" Charlotte responded, putting down her brushes and turning fully to him. "Since the gala, I can't stop thinking about everything that happened. You made me realize things about myself that I had never considered. I always thought success was all that mattered, but now I'm not so sure." Charlotte nodded, understanding his dilemma. "Kevin, sometimes it takes a new perspective to help us see what we really want. And maybe, just maybe, success isn't just about what we achieve professionally, but also about how we live our lives." Kevin sighed, relieved to be able to talk to someone who understood. "You're right. But that doesn't mean it's easy to change. There are so many expectations and pressures." Charlotte placed a comforting hand on his arm. "You're not alone in this, Kevin. I'm here to help in any way I can." Kevin smiled, feeling a weight lift off his shoulders. He knew he needed to make changes, but he also knew he could count on Charlotte during this process. The friendship they were developing was something precious, and he didn't want to lose it. "Thank you, Charlotte. It means a lot to know I can count on you." As the sun began to set, the two sat on a bench, talking about their hopes and fears. Kevin was determined to find a balance in his life, one that would allow him not just to be a successful architect, but also a fulfilled person. With Charlotte by his side, he felt he was on the right path to discovering what really mattered. Kevin knew he needed to be honest with Jonathan Reed about his past and his intentions. After the conversation with Charlotte, he was more resolved than ever to face his fears and open his heart. What was at stake was not just a project, but his integrity and the chance to live more authentically. Scheduling a meeting with Jonathan at an elegant restaurant in downtown, Kevin was nervous but determined. Upon arriving, he spotted Jonathan at a corner table, already waiting for him. Jonathan waved as Kevin approached, his face impassive but curious about what Kevin had to say. "Kevin, good to see you again," Jonathan greeted, shaking his hand. "You mentioned you had something important to discuss?" Kevin took a deep breath, taking a moment to gather his thoughts. "Yes, Jonathan. I feel I need to be completely honest with you. Not just because of the project, but because I want our partnership to be based on truth." Jonathan raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "I'm listening." Kevin began to talk about his past, his motivations, and the challenges he had faced along the way. He admitted that for a long time, he had focused solely on professional success, neglecting his personal and emotional life. "I've realized, thanks to Charlotte, that life is more than just achievements," Kevin confessed. "I was so focused on impressing you that I forgot to be true to myself. I want you to know that I'm committed to being a better person, both professionally and personally." Jonathan listened attentively, weighing every word of Kevin's. There was a sincerity in Kevin's speech that did not go unnoticed. Jonathan crossed his arms, considering what had been said. "Kevin, I appreciate your honesty. It's not easy to admit our weaknesses, but it's an important step for growth, Jonathan finally said. I've always believed that integrity is key in business and in life. And, from what you've shown me today, it seems you're on the right path. Kevin felt a wave of relief hearing Jonathan's words. He knew he still had much to prove, but this conversation was an important step in the right direction. Thank you, Jonathan. I promise I'll work hard to ensure that you see this in my actions. After the meeting, Kevin left the restaurant with a renewed sense of purpose. He knew the road ahead would be challenging, but he was determined to face any obstacle with authenticity and integrity. With Charlotte's support and Jonathan's trust, he felt he was finally living according to his values and ready for a brighter future. After his revealing conversation with Jonathan Reed, Kevin felt renewed but knew he still had difficult decisions to make to align his life with his new insights. Over the following weeks, he began to reassess his professional focus, trying to balance his ambitions with his desire for authenticity. Charlotte continued to be a constant presence in his life, offering advice and support as Kevin navigated these changes. One afternoon, they decided to meet at an art gallery where Charlotte was exhibiting some of her work. "You're really moving forward with your art," Kevin commented, admiring one of her paintings that captured the vibrant energy of the city. "Yes, I've been working hard." "And you? How are you handling everything?" asked Charlotte, her voice laden with genuine concern. Kevin sighed, looking at the crowd observing Charlotte's works. "I'm making progress, but there's still a lot I need to change. I've made a decision about the project with Jonathan. I wanted to truly reflect who I am." Charlotte smiled, encouraging him. "That's great, Kevin. How do you plan to do that?" "I'm thinking of incorporating some of your ideas and visions into the project. You brought a perspective that I never would have considered on my own. I'd like the project to reflect not just my work, but also the creativity you brought into my life." Charlotte was surprised but flattered by the proposal. "Kevin, that's wonderful. I'd love to contribute in some way." Kevin nodded, determined. "I think we can create something incredible together. Something that truly represents what we're trying to achieve not just in architecture, but in how we see the world." The decision to work together was a significant milestone for Kevin. Incorporating Charlotte's art into the project was a bold step, but it reflected his new approach to work and life. He wanted his work to resonate with the authenticity and passion that Charlotte represented. In the days that followed, Kevin and Charlotte spent hours discussing ideas and drawing sketches, each bringing their unique skills and vision to the project. There was a synergy between them that motivated them to create something truly innovative. Kevin also began to change his approach in business. He met with his team to discuss how they could implement changes that reflected his new priorities. He wanted everyone in the company to share this vision of integrity and authenticity. "Let's ensure that everything we do is a true reflection of who we are and what we want to achieve," Kevin told his team, feeling more inspired than ever. Collaborating with Charlotte and the new direction of his company not only invigorated Kevin but also opened new paths for him. He finally felt that he was aligning his actions with his values, creating a more promising future for himself and those around him. The collaboration between Kevin and Charlotte began to take shape in an extraordinary way. The project they were working on together became a symbol of their individual journeys and the unique connection they developed. The combination of architecture and art produced something that transcended their personal experiences. With the project progressing, they decided to organize a preview event to showcase their ideas to a small group of friends, colleagues, and investors. It was an opportunity to share their vision and receive feedback before moving to the final phase. On the night of the event, the gallery was buzzing with excitement. People circulated, admiring the sketches and models that Kevin and Charlotte had created. Jonathan Reed was present, curious to see what they had produced. Kevin, dressed with renewed confidence, looked at Charlotte and said, "We're ready for this. I believe we've created something really special." Charlotte, moved, responded, "I'm so proud of us. It's amazing to see how our ideas have come together. When it was time to address the guests, Kevin took the lead. Thank you all for being here. This project represents a new approach I'm adopting, both in my career and in my personal life. It's about more than just building buildings. It's about creating something meaningful, something that inspires. Charlotte continued, through this collaboration, we wanted to show how art and architecture can come together to create spaces that are not only functional, but also inspiring and full of life. The guests applauded, and Kevin felt a warmth growing in his chest. He was finally living according to his values, something that seemed impossible just a few weeks ago. Jonathan Reed approached, a satisfied smile on his face. You two did an incredible job, Jonathan said, shaking Kevin's hand. I'm impressed with what you've managed. This truly represents a new direction for you, Kevin. Kevin thanked him, feeling validated. He knew that deciding to be honest and work with Charlotte had been the right choice. The project was not only a reflection of their skills, but also of his new approach to life. As the evening progressed, Kevin and Charlotte realized how much they had achieved together. They had not only created something innovative, but had also discovered a new purpose. Kevin knew this was just the beginning of a partnership that could bring even more innovation and authenticity to their lives and work. As guests began to leave, Kevin and Charlotte remained in the gallery, looking at their creations. They knew the journey to this point had been challenging, but the satisfaction of achieving their goals in an honest and creative way was worth every effort. The preview event was a resounding success, and news about Kevin and Charlotte's innovative project quickly spread throughout New York's architecture and art community. The positive reactions they received not only validated their choices, but also opened new doors for both of them. With renewed support from Jonathan Reed and other investors, Kevin decided to move forward with the construction of the project. He was determined to ensure that every detail reflected the collaboration between him and Charlotte, bringing their shared visions to life. Charlotte, for her part, was excited to see her artistic ideas take shape on such a grand scale. As the project advanced, Kevin began to reflect on the changes in his personal life. He realized how much he had grown since meeting Charlotte and how his perspective had changed. Work was no longer his sole focus. Now, he valued personal connections and integrity above all. On a sunny afternoon, as they walked through the construction site, Kevin turned to Charlotte and said, "This project is just the beginning. I'm sure together we can create many more incredible things." Charlotte smiled, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "I'm looking forward to seeing what the future holds, Kevin. Working with you has been a wonderful experience." As they discussed plans for the future, Kevin realized he wanted more than just a professional partnership with Charlotte. He wanted her to be part of his life in all respects. Kevin knew it was time to be honest about his feelings. "Charlotte," he began, a bit hesitant but resolute. "Working with you has changed my life in ways I never imagined. And I'd like to explore more than just a work partnership." Charlotte looked at him, surprised, but her smile soon revealed that she shared the same feelings. "I would love that, Kevin. You've made me see the world in a new way, and I'd like to continue this journey by your side." With this new understanding between them, Kevin and Charlotte began planning not just their next projects, but also the future they wanted to build together. It was a new phase in their lives, filled with hope and unlimited possibilities. As the months passed, Kevin and Charlotte's project materialized into a building that not only enchanted with its aesthetic beauty but also inspired those who visited. It was a testament to their collaboration, the fusion of art and architecture, and the personal journey both had embarked on. Kevin and Charlotte learned that true fulfillment came from living authentically and valuing the connections they made along the way. Together, they had transformed their lives, found a greater purpose, and, ultimately, a true love that would guide them in their future endeavors. As they looked towards the horizon, Kevin and Charlotte knew they had a promising future ahead, full of opportunities to create, grow, and love. And with that certainty, they were ready to embrace all that life had to offer, hand in hand and with open hearts. If you were inspired by Kevin and Charlotte's journey, don't forget to share this story with friends and family. Follow us for more moving stories of transformation and overcoming, and discover how the power of genuine connections can shape our lives in surprising ways. Subscribe to our channel and follow us on social media so you don't miss any updates. Leave your comment below and tell us, what was the most memorable moment of this story for you? A rich architect hires a young, impoverished woman to pretend to be his girlfriend, but when she attends the gala dinner, everyone is